Yeah. All right. What's happening, everybody? All right. So we got about a week downtime right now. We just got off of that big line where we caught all those bobcats and a few coyotes, and we just picked up another job today. Got two, maybe three more weeks on this property. It's about 2,500 acres, and the guy's got a lot of coyote activity over there. So we are boiling and waxing and prepping traps this afternoon. But today I want to talk to y'all. I want to just share something with y'all. It's completely non-related to trapping. And we just reached 100 followers on this channel, which is it's really nothing in the grand scheme of things. But I kind of made God a promise that when I got to 100 subscribers, that I would share my testimony on my channel. So that's what I'm here to do today. I'm gonna try to compact a lifetime into about 15 or 20 minutes so that it doesn't get too long and drawn out and boring for you guys. But either way, I'd really like it if everybody would just stick around and listen. Your testimony is the most powerful thing you have as a Christian, to be able to witness to people and to share, what Jesus has done in each individual person's life. So, if you got a few minutes, just stick around and listen. All right, so grew up out in the country, hunting, fishing, trapping. We were all the time out in the woods. Me, my dad, my brother, always doing something. Didn't spend a whole lot of time with my mom, but I mean, I was a little boy that liked to be out in the woods, and so I was with my dad. We went to church, and we were in church regular Wednesday night, Sunday mornings. Church just a mile or two down the road from the house, so we were there pretty steady. Involved in the church, mom taught some Sunday school classes and some Wednesday night, like teenage classes and stuff like that. Dad was always singing and playing the guitar and stuff like that. So I grew up with a knowledge of God. I grew up with a knowledge of Jesus. And when I was about 10, say maybe 11, I decided I wanted to get saved. And I had a basic understanding of salvation. I'm a sinner. Jesus died for my sins. If I ask him to forgive me, my sins will be forgiven, and I get to go to heaven. That was, about the gist of it. And I was pretty pumped up about that when I was, 10, 11 years old, and I went to visit some friends in another state, and I was all excited. I wanted to witness to them, wanted to tell them about Jesus, and I did. And being 9, 10 years old, I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge about what it meant, in depth. So I got just pounded and hammered with all these questions, and it was starting to rain. And I couldn't answer them. I couldn't answer them. I didn't have an answer for it. I was 10, 11 years old. All I knew was, sin bad, Jesus good, you plus Jesus equals heaven. That's all I really knew. So they grilled me on it, and they didn't believe. They weren't believers, and as far as I know to this day, they're still not. But that kind of shot me down from witnessing. It kind of covered up my salvation as far as talking to other people about it. And so anyway, I was about 10 or 11 when that happened. When I was about 12 or 13, my mom and dad split up, and I never saw it coming. They didn't fight, argue, never had a disagreement around me or anything, but apparently behind closed doors is where they did their dealings, because they didn't want to expose me and my brother to an argumentative relationship. I mean, they weren't abusive or anything like that. They fought a lot. They argued a lot. And my old man was pretty hard on me. Dad didn't abuse me, but he would sure enough lay into my behind, Hope you guys can hear me over this rain on this tin roof. So anyway, 12, 13 years old, mom and dad split up. And shortly thereafter, we stayed in church. Shortly thereafter, I started drinking and smoking pot. Well, first time I smoked pot was with a buddy of mine from church. Imagine that. So church isn't a safe haven all the time, as much as you'd like to think it is. bad things happen there too. So anyway, that was kind of the start of my drinking and drugging. Was, 12, 13 years old. And as time went on, as I grew older, I drank more, partied more, got into high school and stuff. And of course, the opportunities to party and drink picked up a lot. I played football. I was a star on the football team, I guess you could say. So I was popular. I had lots of friends. I had lots of girls. Just, everything a kid could want. But I just had kind of this emptiness, like I was unhappy, regardless of how happy I should have been with what I had. I wasn't, maybe it was because my folks were split up. Maybe it was because I really wasn't truly saved at that time. Maybe it was a combination of everything. I don't really know. But I just filled that void with drinking. I filled that void with partying and with, smoking more weed and stuff like that. And my dad remarried, and we didn't really get along with wife too, or kids. So the night I graduated high school, I moved out. I moved in with my cousin, just 20, 25 miles away from home, and we partied 8 days a week. And that's where the drugs kind of developed into more. I met a guy through a job I had in high school that introduced me to cocaine, and that was my end all be all. The first time I did it, I absolutely loved it. I was hooked. And when I moved out, I stayed in touch with him, and we partied and drugged up together and stuff all the time. And then I got a job at a land surveying company, and that's where I met my drug dealer. My drug dealer worked with me every day, and the funny part is he's not a drug dealer anymore. The guy I met in high school through a little afternoon job, he's not a drug addict anymore. He's not an alcoholic anymore. He doesn't do anything like that anymore. We're still friends. We're still in touch. And I'm still in touch with my old drug dealer because he doesn't deal drugs anymore. And he knows I've changed and I've cleaned up, and he would never, despite what he was back then, he would never want to introduce me to it again. So just because you're a drug dealer doesn't mean you're a bad person. So anyway, I worked day in and day out 5 days a week with my drug dealer, and he just fed me drugs all week. Then on the weekends, me and my buddies, friends, we would go hit him up, and we would just get piles and piles and piles of drugs. And the cocaine kind of morphed into, whatever. Like, we'd be partying and we'd be out of cocaine, and somebody'd be like, hey, you want to smoke some crack? And I'd be like, sure, I'll smoke crack tonight. And, the next night it might be meth, or it might be pills or whatever. So I was just spiraling, man. I was doing anything I could to get high. As far as drug use went, I would do whatever. And I was living wherever, friends, family, whoever had an open bed that night, sleep in my truck, sleep outside, whatever. And I was living with my aunt and was working at the surveying company, and I got real high one day at work, and I didn't want to come home to her house and get busted, basically. So I took a ride down a dirt road just to try and kind of come down, and I ran into my wife. Obviously wasn't my wife at the time. She was actually a friend of mine's sister at the time, guy I grew up with, played football with. She lived down this dirt road I was riding down, and I ran into her, and we, exchanged numbers and started dating. And wasn't too long into that, she found out how bad off I was, and kind of came down to an ultimatum. I've been strung out for a couple of years at this point, and it was her or the drugs. So thank God I ended up choosing her, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy transition from drug addiction to no drugs. I struggled for a very long time with just sickness and cravings, and twice, I think, after I quit, I slipped up and used 2 more times within, I'd say, 6 months to a year. But thankfully I didn't spiral when I did. But the whole reason that I did that was because I continued drinking and I continued getting drunk and making really bad choices, like doing drugs. So, my roof's leaking. So, we moved in together. And, started seriously talking about and considering marriage. And, I was clean off the drugs. I've been clean for probably a couple of years, at this point. But I was still drinking like a fish, partying. I worked swing shift. I got a new job over at a plant in Savannah. And I just started partying and partying and partying. When I wasn't working, I was drinking. It didn't matter if it was 7 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning. If I wasn't at work, I was drunk. And that continued on. And I remember one day in particular, it was a friend of mine's bachelor party. It was about a year or two before I got married. And I left his bachelor party on a Sunday morning. We partied Friday night and Saturday night. And I left his party that Sunday morning, and I'd been drinking that Sunday morning. And I ran my truck as fast as it would go all the way back to my house. And it was the first time I'd prayed in a long, long time. And I just begged God to let me die. I begged him to let me wreck, hit a tree, hit a light pole, flip my truck, just let me die, because I was miserable. I was miserable, man. And I had I had everything. I didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't have to worry about money at that point. I had it. I had a boat, I had a nice truck, had a good-looking girl, just friends, partying, I had it all. I shouldn't have been unhappy as far as the world sees it, but I was so unhappy I wanted to die. And I felt like that all through the drug doing and everything. There was a night I overdosed, almost died in the bottom of a shower because I had just done so much cocaine. I was trying to kill myself. I really was. I was trying to do so many drugs at one time that I would die, just because of the level of unhappiness that was, hidden inside of me. So, yeah, I begged God that day to just kill me, just take me out, and thankfully he didn't. I made it home, and, here I am now. But, so anyway, it wasn't long after that, me and my wife, we got married, and we bought a house, and within 3-4 months of us getting married, my wife was pregnant, and we were blessed with our first son, our oldest son, and nothing changed. I didn't quit drinking. I told myself a month or two before he was born, I went on just a bender and just got tanked for 2 or 3 days, and I was like, yeah, this is my last hoorah. I'm about to be a dad, and I gotta tighten up. And that lasted just a couple of weeks, and that was over and done with. So that didn't change anything. A kid didn't change anything. Friends never changed anything. Material stuff never changed anything. So I just kept going. I kept getting worse. And I did dad stuff. I was a good dad at that point. I was doing what a dad should do. I was working. I was spending time with my boy and doing things with him like I should. But as soon as that was over with, I was drinking. And it hindered me from doing a lot more stuff than what I did. Yeah, that was a rough time. So we fast forward a couple years. I've been clean off drugs at this point for, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years maybe. But my drinking was just out of control. We would put we would put my son to bed at night, and I wouldn't even hang out with my wife. I'd go straight outside, and I would drink until just, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I would just sit out in my shop by myself and just get drunk. And I knew my wife I knew she was getting pretty tired of it. I knew that wasn't going to last too long. I knew she wasn't going to put up with it too long. She'd already been through enough dealing with me with the drugs. I mean, she dealt with that for a solid year, probably a year and a half, before she finally told me, like, look, give it up or give me up. So I knew that talk was probably coming again pretty soon if I didn't do something. And in the meantime, she got pregnant a second time with our second son. And when he was born, he had some issues. Nothing major, nothing that wasn't able to be corrected, but he had to have a positional helmet because his skull plates were crooked. And he ended up having to have leg braces. And all the while that this is all going on, my dad, he's got a divorce with his second wife, and he is married his third wife. He actually got married to his third wife 2 weeks prior to me getting married. So we've been married about the same amount of time now. Anyway, Dad had kind of got back into church. He drifted off pretty good for a while. I mean, he partied too. I mean, heck, me and my dad partied together. We got in bar fights together. I thought that was cool at the time, but not really. But I mean, he didn't know any better either. Anyway, Dad had started going back to church. And when my son had to have the leg braces, the helmet that he had to have was really expensive. It cost us $800 out of pocket, but without insurance, which thank God we had, without insurance it would have cost $4,200, $4,200. So thank God we had good insurance, but we still had to come out of pocket, for some change. So when I found out, the day I found out that he had to have leg braces, I was so broke. I wasn't too broke to buy a beer, because I had a case of it in the truck, but I was too broke to put gas in my truck to make it to work the next day. So I had a fire going in the yard, and I was sitting out by the fire drinking beer, and I was stripping copper wire, so that I could take it to the scrap yard to get enough money to put gas in my truck to go to work, to make more money to buy more beer. So now we have two children, and the youngest one has some physical problems at this point. And when I found out he had to have the leg braces, like I say, this is what I'm going through at this point. I'm drunk. I am a drunk. I am a alcoholic at this point. I have been drinking non-stop since I was 13 years old, and I was about 23 at the time. No, I was probably about 25. Either way, regardless of the age, been drinking for a long time. And it just all hit me, man. It just all hit me. I was sitting out by the fire. I was drunk. I was just thinking about my life and where I went wrong. Like, man, you're almost 30 years old, and you're sitting out here stripping copper wire so that you can have enough gas money to go to work. Like, what a loser, And my dad happened to call me, and I kind of lost it, man. I got upset, and he was like, I'm coming over. I'm gonna come talk to you. So Dad came by the house, and Dad stayed on me hard when I was a kid, and into my early teenage years. He didn't let anything slide. He busted my behind a lot. And I'm thankful for it now. I wasn't then. And I just thought he was just being a jerk. But he never really called me down about much as an adult. But he came over to the house, and like I say, Dad had been going back to church a little bit. And he came by the house, and we were talking about, the leg braces and this, that, and the other. And he's like, well, son, he's like, I can help you, a little bit with it. And I was like, that's not the point, man. I want to be able to do things on my own. I'm grown. I got a wife. I got kids. I should be able to support all this. And I said, I'm just worried about how much it costs because, we had to pay, $800 on this last thing. And I said it would have been, over $4,000 if we hadn't had insurance. And he said, good God. And I just thought for just a second, and I said, yeah. I said, I hadn't seen a whole lot out of him lately. And Dad he kind of looked at me and he was like, all right. He said, that's about enough of that. Okay. So I didn't say anything else. We talked for a few more minutes and he left. And after he left, I thought about it. I sat there. I said, you know what? I said, I've tried doing this life every way except God's way. So I'm going to try it God's way now. Because my way is not working. I was just as unhappy right then at that point as I was the morning that I begged God to kill me. And I begged God to kill me a lot. I begged God to take me out a lot. I never wanted to kill myself. I was too scared. But I begged God to do it a lot. So I started reading the Bible. I found a little pocket Gideon's Bible that I'd been carrying around for a long time. I started reading it. I was at work one night. It was a Wednesday night. And I read the book of John. And the book of John's got one of the most descriptive recollections of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ that any of the Gospels have. And I read it and I researched, I looked up some words in the dictionary about what did this mean and that mean. And when I found out the true detail in what Christ suffered because of my sin on my account, not on his account, he suffered through all that because of me and because of what I had done. I said, you know what? If somebody's got that much dedication to me, I think I can make a dedication to them. So I flipped over to the back of the Bible. I prayed the little sinner's prayer that was written in there, and I meant it. And I had no intentions on changing my lifestyle, but I was gonna do things different. I just didn't know how yet. So that was a Wednesday night at work. Friday morning, I got off of work and I was off for the weekend. I kind of knocked around the yard a little bit Friday, and my brother and some friends came over Friday night and we got drunk. Same drunk I've been 10,000 times before. But this time it was different. When I woke up the next morning, I felt just awful. And I'm here to tell you, there's probably not a whole lot of folks watching this that have been more drunk than I have been. There's not a whole lot of people watching this that's been more messed up on drugs than I've been. And there's not a lot of people watching this who have felt as bad the next day as I have felt. And that day was terrible. People talk about, oh God, I feel like I've been hit by a train. I got a headache, my gut. It was everything. It was all piled into one. And I believe that was God's way of saying, like, all right, you said you're going to do things my way. I'm fixing to show you my way. And I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol since. That was 8 years ago this year. October of 2021 will make 8 years that I've been completely sober. No alcohol, no drugs, no nothing. But Jesus started to form me at that point. He started to mold me into what he wanted me to be. And I've slipped. I have slipped. I still slip daily. I'm just as big of a sinner now as I was 15 years ago. I'm just a forgiven sinner now. I've asked Jesus to forgive me. And I've asked him to help me not repeat those same sins. And he does. And the happiness that I've been missing my entire life is there. We stayed married through it, thank God. It was only just a few months after my conversion that my wife decided that she needed to accept Christ and become saved. And our children are 9 and 7 now, and they've both accepted Christ as their Savior and as their Lord. As much as a 7 and a 9-year-old can understand how, they understand that they need it. And that's where the rubber hit the road. For me, it was just, knowing that if Christ hadn't changed me, what would have become of my family? I probably wouldn't have one at this point. I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you guys right now. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. I'm a Christian. I have asked Jesus Christ many times to forgive me of my sins, and I've repented of my sins many times. But it only takes once. It only takes one time to have a true heartfelt conversation with Christ and to ask Him to forgive you of your sins and to just come into your life, come into your heart, and be the Lord of your life, and just allow that Holy Spirit to take you over and to guide you through everything you do, through every decision you make, and through every step you take, and through every word you say. Jesus drugged me out of a dirty, filthy pit and brushed me off, and has carried me ever since. And I feel like He was carrying me the whole time I was in that pit too. I just didn't know it. He was there. I just had to recognize His presence. So my hope is, through this video, just to share with you guys what Jesus Christ is capable of. There's lots of details that I left out of this story that I just don't have time to fill in here. But there's other things. There's things way worse than drugs and way worse than alcohol and family neglect and things like that I've done in my life. Way worse. Things I don't want to share. I've only shared with a select few people. Jesus, he's dealt with all that. He's wiped it all out of my life. He can wipe it out of your life too. You just gotta ask Him. So I'm gonna wrap this video up now, and I don't care if people unsubscribe to this channel because of my testimony. I'd like for you not to, but that's not what it's about. I'm not doing this for attention. I'm not doing this to glorify me. I'm doing this to glorify God, because I just want to share with you guys what God's capable of, what He's done in my life, and what He's capable of in your life. There's absolutely nothing that you can do or that you have done that Jesus can't wipe clean and just give you a fresh start. So I'm going to wrap it up now. I'm going to leave something here at the end for you guys to read, and please comment if this video helps you in any way. Please comment. Please let me know. If you want me to pray for you, I'll pray for you. Prayer works. I know I've been prayed for a lot throughout my life, and other people's prayers is what got me where I am. So prayer works. Anyway, that's the end, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you made it through the whole video. Sorry it took so long. I pray it just helps one person. Alright, thanks. Appreciate you guys watching.